Hello again. It's time for reading and creating your story with Sherri. I hope you guys are doing well today. Today we're going to read a book called The Scraps Book. Notes from a Colorful Life. And this is a book written by Lois Ehlert. And she's a very, very popular children's book author. I think probably everyone out there has heard of the book and seen the book, Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. Guess what? She wrote that. But we're going to talk about how she came to be an artist and an artist of children's books. Here's some pictures of some things she did. Wow. A colorful life is right. Look at that. And here's a warning. Don't read this book unless you love books and art. And that's us, right? We do. We love books and art. Lois says, when I was little, I read all the books on the library shelf and I thought maybe someday I could make a book. This is me in my grandmother's garden when she was a little girl. My mom and dad returning home after hunting for wild asparagus. She had very interesting parents. I was lucky. I grew up with parents who made things with their hands. And this is the home where I grew up. It looks like a nice place to live, but it's not fancy, is it? No. People who write books and make pictures just are regular like you and me. Mom loved to sew. She had colorful fabrics, scraps, buttons, lace, ribbons, and many scissors she shared with me. And Dad had a basement workshop. He gave me wood scraps and taught me how to paint, saw, and pound nails. So I had wonderful art supplies and tools close at hand. And here she shows us a picture of her watercolor brush and Dad's brush, a paintbrush that her dad had. In a small corner of our house, Dad set up a folding table for me. It was my spot, a place to work and dream. When I grew up and left home for art school, my table went with me. And here's the top of the table. And you guys, I wish I could show you my table that I work at, because it looks like a lot like this. After art school, I worked in an art studio by day, and I worked on book ideas at night. I created lots of art. They're not for books right away. But I didn't worry. Everyone needs time to develop their dreams. An egg in the nest doesn't become a bird overnight, right? Artists spend a lot of time doing their art because they love to and they really have to. But it's more for them. It's more for their learning. Where do book ideas come from anyway? I know I find ideas in the world around me. What's she got there? A face with a banana for a mouth, maybe oranges and a cherry for a nose. I've even found ideas in my garden while shopping at the fruit and vegetable store. When a squirrel slipped into my house, a book idea walked right up to me. There he goes, up the bricks, on his claws. He still seeds and eats with his paws. And her story about the squirrel, she uses cut-out paper to make the shape of the squirrel, and cut-out paper to make the fruits. These are all ideas from some of her books, which I hope you all go to the library and look her up and read more of her books, not just Chicka Chicka Boom Boom. On a trip to the aquarium, I watched colorful fish swim by. A book idea swam into my brain. I sketched and I made notes before it floated away. I keep my eyes open. An idea might be close by. And here is Lois's collection of ice fishing lures. I really like that picture. These are fishing lures. Fishing lures are very colorful. Do you know why? It's to catch the eyes of the fish, so hopefully they bite. Instead of a snack, they might get caught. Once when I visited my sister, Her cat brushed my ankles as he escaped out the door. A new idea for a book. First, I wrote the story from the cat's viewpoint. It went something like this. Doors left open just a crack. Going out might not be back. Food in a can is not too exciting when there are things I'd rather be biting. That's her story from the cat's viewpoint. But how about the viewpoint of the cat's owner? Uh-oh, door's left open just a crack. My cat is out, and he won't come back. His food in a can is tame and mild, so he's gone out for something wild. I hope he comes back. He will. Chirping and cheeping were sending a warning, they say in this picture. And here she has it. She just made the sketch and then she filled it in with her paper scraps she glued on there. Back and forth I work on the pictures and words until together they tell the story. And do you recognize that, you guys? My art technique is called collage. Can you say that? Collage. Even sounds fun. I cut out scraps like pieces of a puzzle that I assemble and glue into place. I'm messy when I work. And you know what, guys? She doesn't just use paper either. She uses some objects sometimes. Fabrics, objects like we talked about. She says my wastebaskets overflow because a lot of time she has to throw out what she doesn't use. Scraps. Remember the book, Scraps. Scraps lie strewn all over the studio, and more scraps stick to the bottoms of my shoes. Yeah, she's working fast, and she's messy because when you're making art, sometimes it gets messy. But when ideas are flowing, I keep working. Lots of ideas here. I use odd tools to create texture. I spatter paint with a toothbrush or rub a crayon over my grater. She sometimes grates the crayon onto the page to add to her art. Here is something beaded woodland Indian moccasins. Sometimes she just glues some objects on there. Look at this, a grater, a paper clip. It's all part of the picture, all part of the story. Sometimes I photograph folk art from my collection to illustrate a story. She took pictures of a lot of things there, some old dolls, some wooden objects, cloth things. Those look like homemade dolls that maybe Native Americans might have made. I use what's close at hand, just as I did when I was growing up. So you see, and I want to stress this, you guys, even grown-up artists who have been writing lots and lots of books are still using things they find around the house. You don't need to have a lot of materials to make good art. Look, pieces of corn, a pencil, a toy fish, a pine cone, a cinnamon stick, buttons. Sometimes I go for a walk looking for good stuff. We can find good stuff in nature all the time. Some seeds, seed pods from a tree. Pumpkin seeds. We've all got them. If you make a jack-o'-lantern, you got to scoop out those pumpkin seeds. Maybe dry them and use them in a pitcher. Or how about leaves? We've all got leaves around the house, I think. Or if you don't have to go far to find them. And the ones that are on the ground, you can pick them up for free. She says, Mother Nature gives me free art supplies, like I just said. Day after day, I work until the art looks just right to me. She's thinking about flowers in nature. She's drawing her own flowers. You might ask, why did I choose to be an artist? I knew the answer to that before I turned the page. I thought I did. And I was right. She says, I think maybe it's the other way around. art chose me. People that do art, not always, but a lot of times, they do it because it's just in them and they've got to do it. They've just got to do it. It's their passion. Look at her. She's happiest when she's doing her art. If you feel that way too, I hope you'll find a spot to work and begin. If you feel like art is choosing you, please, please don't waste another day. Start doing your art. And if you're not sure if art's choosing me, but you like it, do it anyway. Sometimes it doesn't choose you until later in life. Lois says, I wish you a colorful life. Some of us aren't going to be artists. Some of us are going to have different kinds of art, but that's okay. We can still enjoy what the artists make, can't we? I hope you enjoyed that book by Lois Ellert that I read. And today we're going to do something called collage. Let me show you that. If you picked up a bag, a summer reading packet, one of the things that's going to be in it, you're going to see, is some red construction paper. I put that in there. Maybe you've already used your red construction paper for another project, and that's okay. Any kind of paper will do. But I thought that might make a good background for the collage that I'm going to do today. All right. What I did for my collage, because I wanted to tell a kind of a story, was I took, and here's another thing you're going to find, in that packet are some magazine pages. We put those in there in case you don't have magazine pages with pictures to make your own collage, or you can use whatever you want. I took some magazines I had at home, and I picked some pictures that made me think of the story that I wanted to tell. And the story I wanted to tell is about how, when my kids were growing up, we spent a lot of time together on the water. They spent a lot of time, especially with their dad. Here's a boy learning to fish with his father. And if you didn't notice that, here's a boy who just caught a fish. He's all happy. But I thought for the background, we would start with some water pictures. Here's a picture of some couple of people in a boat. All right. Now you can just cut out your pictures for your collage, or what you can also do is what I usually do is I take the picture and then I trim it down this way. Let's get this out of the way. I put something with a straight edge. A ruler works great. And I put it at the edge of the picture, and then I hold it down really tight. I rip off the part I don't need. There's a scrap, just like in our story, scraps. You can keep the scraps too if you want to. They might come in handy later, I don't know. Let's see. It's just that some people think that a little bit of a soft edge makes a better picture. Okay? Let's just stick that there. We usually, when we're doing a collage, is that we place the things down. There's a sky. And sort of get an idea before we start gluing of how we want it to look. Here's some more water picture. Okay? Now I'm just going to cut this kind of random. Maybe this could go in under here, like that. Some sky. It's a good idea to try to cover most of the background, but it's not necessary. Let's get some more background in here. By background, I meant the red paper. All right, let's just slide this under there. I love this one because, I'll show it to you closer. It has a tree where you can really see the leaves, which reminds me a whole lot of a tree that we had at our river spot when the kids were growing up. And so it reminds me very much of the spot where we spent a lot of time. And this is how I'm telling my story. Now, let's pretend that this is like that. I'm going to pretend that I glued these down, okay? I don't really probably need to show you how to glue things down, but just in case. Let's glue this bottom one under here. Now what you're going to see, with collage, a lot of times you have to sacrifice some really neat pictures, but you have to decide, how bad do I want this part in my picture, and how bad do I want to show something else which might cover some of the picture. So here we're going to sacrifice this part to put, excuse me, let's do it right side up, the people in the boat. I really like this one, especially because it happens at night. If you've never gone night fishing in a boat, that's something you probably ought to do. Anyway, as we're doing this, I want to talk about your collage, which doesn't have to have anything to do with nature or boats or kids or anything. Just something that tells your story. Now, because we're telling a story about my children when they were smaller, let's get those kid pictures in here. Let's see. Here's that one I was telling you about, where a boy is learning how to fish. It doesn't have to be a dad that's teaching you how to fish, but generally, if you're going to fish, you do need somebody to help you out. Sometimes for a while, you're going to want somebody to bait your line. Although, that was one of my fun parts of fishing, because I actually liked holding those squirmy worms when I was a kid. All right, so let's just put that there. How about that? And how about we take scissors? I'm going to get that boy in here. Not all of your pieces in your collage should be square, should they? Let's put him there. Okay, glue him down. And like I said, it takes a while to do a collage, and I just want to show you today. You don't have to stick around for the whole process. Let's just say that. So here he is. Here's a boy learning how to put a worm on his line, and there he is with his fish. I'm going to put one more picture on here before we end, just because I like it so much. In this story, now where are we going to put this? Oh, let's do this. Oh my goodness, there's too much stuff to cover. Maybe over here I have to make it a little bit smaller. Again, this is why you want to make a plan. Let's just stick that guy right there. Stick him down a little bit so that we can show you. Now, my collage today that I'm making to show you about collage only has pictures out of magazines in. But that doesn't mean that's all you need to put in. I did pick a quote. I found something that was written in one of the magazines that I really liked, and it says this: "Follow a child, and you will find yourself at the very gateway of love, joy, and sincerity." And that's so true. So in my collage, it's going to be a story of growing up on the water with children. It's going to end up looking a little bit like that. Now, I'm probably not finished with this collage. I might put some more things on. And like Lois Ellert talked about, it doesn't just have to be pictures and flat things. It could be objects. I could glue a little fish hook on there somewhere. I could glue some leaves or something that we found when we were fishing, or that looked like some of the trees. Maybe that tree I was talking about. Maybe this one here. Maybe get a maple leaf and put on there. Whatever you need to do to make your collage be the story that you want to tell, that's what you do. There's really no right way and one wrong way. And you're going to find that the more often you do collages, the more fun it is, and the happier you're going to be with the results. Okay, so I hope you do that this week. I'm going to be putting challenges up like I always do, so watch for that. But you don't need to wait for it. You can start making a collage today. Okay. Thanks for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.